Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the next episode of CAOverwatch.
The Toronto Defiant will not be denied.
Super excited. Today we have a really special episode on. We have Adamou from, if I got the last name right again, from OAM, Overactive Media, the Chief Strategic Officer for essentially both the Toronto Defiant, Toronto Ultra, and the Mad Lions, I believe, in addition to any other ones. And we're here to chat today. We had a chat, I believe, half a year ago, and it was really awesome. And we're glad to have him back on. So hey, Adam, how are you doing today?
Always a pleasure to be on. I'm doing great.
Hey, that's great to hear. Good to hear that you're doing good. So let's just jump right in here. I think we want to just talk about a few different things, from an OAM perspective as well as Toronto Defiant, Toronto Ultra perspective. And first, want to quickly address this new season for both the Ultra and Defiant that have just kind of been over. From your perspective and from a parent company OAM perspective, what are some of the things that you guys think you guys really kind of did well this year, and some things that you are looking to change just from a general perspective going into next year?
Well, I mean, there's the corporate side, which is the business of esports, and then there's the team side, which is the business of esports too, but in a different way. I would say on the business side, we just have such an incredible team all across. I mean, there's so many people in the background that basically do everything from the social, the community managers, and the marketing and the partnership. Like there is a lot of work that nobody ever sees that is just basically keeping the lights on and building this organization. And we. Again, I think we've had a great year, COVID notwithstanding. I think everybody pulled together in an incredible way, and I think it was really good kind of character building year where everybody really came together during a very difficult time. We did have some cuts very, very early on. It wasn't, look, I am the first guy to sit there and worry about the restaurant owner when there's like another kind of shutdown. It's very difficult to be a business in this environment that caters to the public, but I think everything on balance, we've just done a terrific job across the board over there. In terms of the teams, I say, we hit most of, we have kind of benchmarks, like, we think we want to make the playoffs, we want to do better, in terms of where we expect to kind of be at the beginning of the season. And look, we always want to win, but that's not the business side. You can't plan to win every year if you're on the business side of it. So we do have our targets, and I would say for the most part, we hit those targets. I would say the weakest performing of our teams, the Mad Lions, the CSGO team in our first year won the Flashpoint Championship. That was very exciting. Our Mad Lions League of Legends team had a tremendous year with a bunch of rookies over there. One of the most exciting teams in the world, I think. Our Ultra had a great run, particularly near the end. And, I think that is a sleeper team. I think maybe because we don't have the biggest names out there, people are not giving us the credit that we have. But keeping that squad together for year two is going to be tremendous, I think, for that organization. And then, of course, there's Defiant, which we're here to talk about now, where I think we talked about that last time. Look, we struggled, and we ended up dropping almost the entire team. So we can't necessarily call it a big success, but. That isn't to speak necessarily negative about any of the players. I mean, I think we had the resources that we needed, and we just couldn't figure out a way to make it work. And rather than spending 2 more years figuring it out, I think we said let's kind of take a step back and think fresh.
Yeah, and I mean, just to elaborate on that before moving on to another topic, it just was I do agree that Toronto was in this really interesting position where. Obviously, you look at the standings and you look at the win-loss record, and it was disappointing, to say the least. But I do agree that it's not like they were getting blown out every single game, right? It seemed like you guys were always so close. One team fight away, one map away from like getting this big victory or getting over this hump, and it just was like the team could just never seemingly, get over until the summer showdown they did, which was a great thing. But even after that, like the playoffs versus the Gladiators, that was such a close game, and a few other matches before that were just so close. So it was disappointing, but it wasn't like this team was like not competitive. You know what I mean? It's not like they were just getting 3-0'd every single set, looking horrible. Like there's definitely some positives to take away.
Yeah, I thought, and the coaching staff, and I think the players for sure, like we thought we could win a couple of series in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
I think we could kind of finish like top 6, and look, we had every chance to do so. I think we had all of the tools, and and we went in feeling really good. Scrims were going really well, like we were kind of silently confident, and. Well, I mean, you guys watched the season, right? I mean, when we kind of got on the live server and the game started, it didn't happen, right? And I think, look, we talked about this last time I was on around midpoint of the season, and it was, look, everybody, we've got expectations for everybody, and we need everybody to basically put in, the effort and basically bring leadership. And if it doesn't work, and I think I said it back then, we're going to have to try something else. And so that's what we're doing, right? Because it didn't work.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Hey,
and it's funny because if we had won a couple of series, if we had, the narrative would be so different if we had won a couple of series. And I can't see what that future looks like. Maybe in some other universe, I'm talking to you guys and saying about how we're keeping everybody.
Yeah.
But we got to deal with this universe, right?
Yeah. No, I agree. I think improvements have to be made. I agree with that.
Yeah. So I mean, look at we're kind of gonna just dive deep right away on Toronto Defiant. I'll kind of get back to more business-based stuff, but everybody loves Toronto Defiant. I'm the only one that really likes business here.
I like business.
Especially like business too. But just on the roster, obviously, Logix was really the only one kept in this situation. Tell me your thoughts on Logix. Obviously he's a great player, but from your perspective, from an org's perspective, what really gave him those qualities to keep him and have him stay on the team?
Well, first of all, mechanically he's incredibly gifted.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he's one of the best hit scan players in the league, and he's proven that over and over again. Obviously, he can still perform on a team that is below average, let's say, right? And so that he has going for him, right? But not being sure which direction we are going in next, right? We looked at him and we thought, he has the benefit of having our confidence that no matter what kind of team we build, that he will fit in, right? Mm-hmm. He is, synergy and having great character and being, kind of easy to get along with, and all of those other things that are kind of more intangible are so important to a team. And he has all of those things. Like that guy is really a true treasure, both off and on the server, right? And we didn't want to lose him. I mean, he was a free agent, so we didn't have an option. We had to go back to him and convince him to sign. He could have decided to go, and probably he would have had a lot of demand from other teams as well. But we wanted to keep him, both because he's a great player and he's a great person.
Yeah, I think that keeping that continuity too, because he's like sort of the only one who's played on all 3 versions, right? He did play in season 1, even though it was near the end of the year. He obviously played in season 2, and now going into season 3, he's sort of the last remaining one. I mean, not from the original roster, but still from the original season.
Sure.
And I do agree that he is really talented, and I do think that you can build a team around him. Although, you did mention that you were a little bit unsure as to where this team was going, and I think that leads into one of our next sort of questions, because I understand you can't talk about specific players and stuff like that. That's obviously confidential and whatnot. You got to do that on your end. But I know a lot of fans right now are speculating, and people in the community, as to whether or not this team is going to sort of try to replicate what they did in Season 2, which was go full Western, or try to maybe go mixed. Obviously, the signing of KDG sort of implies, at the very least, the possibility. I was wondering if you could sort of speak to, are you guys set in, like, hey, Western only, that's what we're doing? Or is this another one where it's going to be, let's see, he was available, and based around the free agents and based around the prospects, then we'll make our decision?
Well, first of all, that decision is going to be made largely by KDG and the coaching staff, right?
That's
what
right.
we wanted to do is we wanted to have a head coach in place by the end of October. That was our target, and we got that, right.
Yeah.
And we started looking early. We posted actually something publicly, and we got just an incredible amount of interest in. And one of the reasons we wanted to do that is, I wanted coaches on other teams who were not free yet to talk to us to basically know that we were looking, right? So when they could come, they could keep us in mind. And I think that worked as well. So we had an incredible amount of interest, a lot of interviews. We talked to a lot of people. And as I said, I think we're very, very happy with KDG. But he, my commitment to him is, I want him to run the team, right? Including the scouting and the roster building and the assistant coaches and that kind of thing. And he, he wants to win, and I want to win, and so we're aligned there. And look, we want to build a team that is competitive, and I'm not setting limits on it being Western or not Western or Korean or any kind of nationality, right? I mean, we want. There's two ways to basically. There's two components to succeeding, and probably more subcomponents there. Obviously, you have to have good players, okay, but having the 6 best players in each position is not a guarantee of success, okay? Because you need to get along and you need to build synergies, right? And you need to have the proper mix of personalities that support each other. This, more than maybe any other game, is very much a team game, that everybody depends on everybody else, right? And so that trust and that unity is incredibly important. And that takes time to build. That's why in season 2, we saw, Vancouver pick up Runaway and make it to the finals, right? Yeah. And part of the reason there is the synergy, right? So, what we're trying to do is basically build the best team that we can within a fixed amount of budget. I would say that the budget that we've allocated is in the top part, right? And I don't know that it's the top, and I don't know that it's number 5 or 7 or 9. But it is in the top part, because I can see what other people are bidding, and when we're talking to players, I can see who else is talking and what the numbers are, right? And so we're up there, and we want to be there, and our fans deserve us to be there. But KDG's got to make those decisions, right? And it could be that we have 8 Koreans and Logix, right? It could be that we've got 4 West and 4 Korean. But whatever the composition is, you've got to leave those decisions to the people that know the most about the game, right? And having said that, bringing in Chris Glitch when we did it gives us great insight into the Korean side. We've also got Baroy, of course. We've been running trials in EU and North America and Korea. We've been running trials for quite a while, right? I think we're going to build an interesting roster. We're looking at this as a 2-year plan. I'd like for a difference, for a change, to have a team that survives more than a year. So if we can basically put this team together, keep it together for 2 or 3 years, and I have a great deal of confidence in our coaching staff that wherever we are at the beginning of the season, we will be a better team at the end of the season, and that's the progression that we want. That's not the progression we were in this year.
Yeah,
I understand that. And you know what, now that we're kind of in on KDG, I feel like you probably attest this a little bit more. Like, what were some of the defining features that he had in your eyes that really set him apart from the other individuals that you were talking to?
I think KDG has done it before, right? And so he knows what it means to be a head coach, and there is a step up in responsibility, and particularly inside of our organization, between an assistant coach and a head coach. And we thought him having that experience at that level was very important. I think to give us the greatest amount of flexibility, I think having somebody that was fluent in both English and Korean was important to us. And he obviously ticks that off in a great way. And I think he brings great leadership, right? And we lacked in leadership, and I'm not, again, I don't say that to point the finger at anybody. I think everybody did their part very well. It's just we were missing things, right? And one of the things that we were missing was the leadership of somebody that would have the respect of all of the players and the organization, has done it before, and who you could basically say, hey, welcome aboard, this is now yours. Okay, and then who knows what to do with it, right? And he has that, and at least in our judgment, he has that. He's shown that before. I am not worried about the fact that Philly made it, there and lost in the playoffs and whatever. I mean, they made it to the finals in Korea, and to me, like, what you want in a coach is evidence that they can do all of the things that go into winning. The coach cannot play for you, right? So at the end of the day, anything can happen on any given day, right? But what he has been able to show that he's been able to do is put in a system that works and you can build over time. Mm-hmm. And if he can implement that system in the way that I think that he can do it, then we are really setting ourselves up for long-term success and not just for a short-term, kind of spike.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, and I like the whole approach of, hey, like, let's let the experts do what they're experts at, right? Like, I think that that's a really good mentality to have, especially for this team moving forward, and I do like the fact that you have the flexibility to pick up both Korean as well as Western talent, right? Because I think that when you limit yourself to a Western-only roster, that's sort of what you're doing, right? Is you're limiting yourself, and I think keeping all doors open to all sorts of talent is really smart. I understand that you said there's a 2-year plan. This is something you've tweeted about and something you've mentioned to us now. Is there any more you can elaborate a little bit more on that? Is that like the mixed roster? Is that like going for some young, unproven prospects, maybe like an LA Valiant, for instance? Or is there still some stuff that's behind closed doors that you just can't really speak to right now?
No, it's not. I have some ideas in terms of the discussions that we're having right now, but I wouldn't say that it has been absolutely determined whether we're going, young contenders or kind of veteran, free agents and that kind of thing. I think right. I think we're doing an analysis, okay, and I think we're talking to a lot of people. Again, I'm not involved day to day, but what I did mention to our guys is I want us to be in on every discussion. Right? Mm-hmm. If it is a top prospect, even if we are not necessarily interested for whatever reason, I want us in that discussion, right? Yep. And so we are in many discussions. We're going to figure this out, and I think, on balance, 2 years, you need to build synergy. So when I say 2 years, I'm not saying it because I've got some kind of diabolical plan to suck in the first year and improve in the next year, right? Yeah. I'm being realistic in the sense that even if we have a great squad of guys, they may start off a little slow and we need to build that synergy, right? Yeah. And as we build that synergy, we're going to be better at the end of season one, no matter how well in the best case, we could win season one, being, season 4 in Overwatch. But we'll still be even better in the next season. Mm-hmm. The other thing is we are looking to sign players for 2+ year contracts, right? I want to be able to have a team that can stay together. And if we take a look at the other teams that we have that have been successful, in particular our League of Legends team, that's what we've done. We've gone with people and we've convinced them to stay with us for 2+ more years, right? In Ultra, we've done a similar thing. If you kind of take a look at the squad over there, and we didn't sign some of the players and they became free agents, the reason we didn't want to do that is we didn't want them on their option year. We wanted them to sign a new contract so they could stay with us for a longer period of time, right? And I'll just toss it out there that it's not, it's not impossible that some people that we have not re-signed on an option may get signed back again. I mean, some of our players that we released are involved in our trials, right? Yeah. And that's fine. I mean, we're okay with that. We don't dislike anybody. It's just we're doing a pretty rigorous process. Mm-hmm.
No, I think that's really smart. And I think when we did our initial thing, I think there's a few names that I specifically brought up with the whole like EQO comparison to last year, where I was like, even though they got a good pie post on Twitter, don't rule out the possibility that, a few individuals might come back, because I think there's some high level talent there. And even though it didn't necessarily work to the level of which I think a lot of people hoped this season, I still think if you surrounded them with some different pieces, you could really unlock the most out of those players. So I'm glad that you're not just closing the door on everyone from before. I think that's smart.
Yeah, and like I said, we welcome them to to kind of trial, and I think some of them are definitely interested in staying with us. But at this point in time, I'm feeling pretty good with giving. And what a great opportunity for KDG to basically be told, hey, dude, here is a budget and here is a blank slate, and you've got 2 years, and and you and Baroy and Glitch and all bless, go to it. And I would bet on those guys. I think they're in very good shape.
Yeah, that's also good to hear, obviously, because I always have this opinion that I think sometimes that more in esports than in actual sports is that people are very quick to throw out players when they don't perform well for a little bit. So it's good that you're building team synergy. I think over time and making sure that players can build up their skills even if they aren't the most impressive for a certain period of time is certainly good. I mean, everybody and if you're in hockey, I know they have longer careers, so it's a little different, but everybody has their off season and stuff like that. So it's good that it's good to hear from your perspective that you're still looking at some of these players that you may have let go in another trial situation. For them to come back, kind of in that sense. So I don't know, Spencer. In terms of kind of rosters for these two teams, I feel like we kind of hit that mark there where. No, I don't think Adam can really speak anymore to that because of his, hands off with that. So I wanted to kind of refocus our attention more on, I guess a little bit the business side of things and on Overwatch 2. So obviously, with Overwatch 2 coming out, they've pushed back the date of the new season.
Well, I don't know if that's official yet, but I don't think that's official that it's April. But that is the rumors of what people.
Rumors that it's April.
Yeah,
I'm okay. Let's
make that clear.
Let's say in the off chance that it is April, then, how are you gonna be able to? Are you guys to have any plans to really keep up, engagement when it comes to engaging the fans, making sure they still have the Toronto Defiant owning a piece of their brain, a piece of their attention? And I just want to preface this by saying, doing stuff like the GOATS tournament, that was sweet. I think that was one of the coolest things that we've took a part of and we've seen from the Toronto Defiant.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so sorry, I just want to make sure I understand. So what you're hearing is Overwatch 2 comes out in April?
No. The rumor is that the next season of the Overwatch League is going to start in April, which is a longer off season than would be normally. Obviously, nothing's confirmed. If that's the case.
Yeah, I get it. Well, I don't know. It's confirmed, but it's going to start later than we did last year. I can tell you that.
That's COVID.
And I think again, there's nothing nefarious there. I think it's going to end up whenever we start. It is going to end up being as part of a broader plan that will make the league better than it has ever been. Okay, and we are now because Call of Duty will be starting before Overwatch League next season. We're a little further ahead in the planning there.
Yeah, and
I can tell you, I was in a planning call today, and I am so super enthusiastic about what is going to be coming through in terms of just the production and the synergies that we have between the teams, the game, and the publisher and the fans, right? So taking that as a leading indicator, I think we are going to see some massive improvements in the Overwatch League relative to 2020, which was a really strange year, right? It'll be far more professional in terms of the broadcast. We won't have the glitchiness. I think each of the teams will have our players will not be in their bedrooms with a screen behind it. For example, and again, I'm not gonna commit, but we're hoping to have an actual stage set up so that it's like you are basically at an event.
That's really
Hopefully, cool. if things allow, we can have a small number of fans in there, kind of watching the games too. And I think the other teams are going to be doing that. So we're adjusting, and it's going to be. I think it's going to be the best season ever. In terms of how you basically maintain the interest, let me just say that, without getting into specifics,
for sure,
I think the smartest people in esport are working in this league, okay? And that goes like from the people at Activision Blizzard all the way down to the casters and everybody else. And there are minds, frankly, that are smarter than mine, that are figuring, like that's what they do, okay? And they are among the best at doing that. And I have no doubt that there's going to be a bit of an off season, and then they're going to have like an entire campaign to build up the hype again. Overwatch is still really, really big. Okay, yeah. we had I would say for a number of reasons a bit of a step back in 2020, but I am still super, super enthusiastic about Overwatch in terms of the player base is still incredibly strong, and look, we've got something called Overwatch 2 up on the horizon, and that's going to come out, and that's going to result in peak hype once again. Right?
Yeah, no, that totally understands. And doing things like, I think one thing that's, very, very true about the Toronto Defiant is that you guys have had one of the best, I think, fan engagement programs out of actually lots of the other franchises. And I think, from our perspective, being able to keep up that fan engagement, from your guys' perspective during the off season is something that you guys do really well and keep up and can keep up in that sense for sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's one of the best. I would say it's the best. And I would say, Mike Armstrong and his entire team over there, including our community managers and Megan. And also, look, we've got people on the team side, Beth, M. Jenkins, and all bless. We really are passionate about the game and about the community. And again, I like sometimes when we're just engaging in social media and some of the stuff that we do, and it's just like it is so cool. And the quality of sometimes the content or the events or the streams, the thing that we did where you guys were involved, are just like, they're just really cool. It just kind of brings a smile to my face. And there's nothing better than working at a company where other people have better ideas than you do, right? It's just like you sit there and you think, I never would have thought of that. I love this place because I've got so many smarter people doing a great job for me, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I totally agree. And like I said, I think the Ghost tournament was a huge success, and I'd love to see, more stuff similar to that moving forward. And even the Hero Gauntlet free-for-all community stuff they did previous to that was also a success. So I'm excited to see, what the off-season plans. And it's interesting that you brought up Overwatch too, because this is something that I was interested in from the business side, but also from the team side is obviously there's no release date announced, but from a team owner, let's start there. From a team owner, what are some of the things that you would like to see changed from Overwatch 1 to Overwatch 2? Some of the changes that Blizzard could implement that you think would make your life easier, that you would like to see to improve the Overwatch experience, but also from like a team owner perspective as well.
Oh, you know what? I mean, that could go into so many different directions. What I would say though is that what I would love to see is just like, wouldn't it be great if you could integrate the esport and the teams into the game, right? I think there is an opportunity here, and Jeff, if you're kind of watching or listening to this, I know that you do watch this.
Yeah, he always
podcast, right?
Jeff Kaplan.
Wouldn't it be great if you could kind of incorporate the lore, right? Like bring in the Overwatch League in some kind of cool, creative way into the lore of the actual game, right? And and I think if you could do that, I think it kind of combines the two together. It frankly brings us a much bigger audience on the esports side, because there's an awful lot of people that play Overwatch that don't watch the esport. But I think the esport is becoming such a central part of the identity of Overwatch as a game. I think that if they could do one thing, and I'll just leave it at one thing, I would love to see kind of a better integration in the in-game lore of the esport, and whoever over there, is responsible for that. And I know a few people, but I won't call them out. If you do that, you're probably going to think of some really, really cool way to do it. And I think it'll just be outstandingly positive for the entire scene, for all esports, actually. Maybe it'll encourage other games to do the same.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think the integration is really important. I mean, Chris and I have sort of joked around and said this multiple times. I also think giving teams sort of better ways to like monetize with like in-game cosmetics, for instance. Like, I'd love to see like an animation or whatever when Genji takes out his blade and it's the Shanghai Dragon logo, right? Or if you could have like a Toronto Defiant Reinhardt where he's holding a hockey stick and he's got the hockey pads, or like Torbjorn with a judge outfit for the Washington Justice, right? Like some cool stuff like that. I think there's so many possibilities that Overwatch could get into. I mean, we're just joked around about that, but like stuff like that, I think could be really interesting. I'd love to see them sort of take risks and new ideas, because I think stuff like that is something that people would be willing to like spend money and show the support. And I love the like, hey, I get the colors, but like it's a default skin with a different color. Like that's cool, but I kind of sometimes I want more, right? Like I'd love to see Reinhardt with a hockey stick. Like I think that'd be awesome. But that's just me.
Look, and again, like I said, I think those are all great ideas. I think Activision Blizzard is at the forefront of trying to kind of figure out how to incorporate esports into, more centrally into its games. And I think it will begin with Call of Duty with the next season. I expect it will be more fully integrated with Overwatch 2. And I think ultimately all of those opportunities, look, for most publishers, like esports started as like something that they just kind of gave lip service to, right? And some are still doing that, right? I would say Riot and Activision Blizzard are the two publishers out there that are most closely trying to integrate the two. And I think those two are going to figure it out first, right? And I really hope that they can incorporate that through. One of the challenges is, frankly, if you're a publisher, you have to be convinced that you're going to be growing the pie, right? Because if you're going to be promoting Toronto Defiant stuff in your game, and then you got to pay the Toronto Defiant, a piece of that stuff, and something else you could be promoting, and you don't have to pay Toronto Defiant any part of that stuff, right? You're going to sit there and say, pure business, forget about what's right and wrong. You're just going to sit there and say, okay, convince me why I should give up any money to anybody else when I'm already a big game and everybody still loves Overwatch, right? And so I think what has been, what Activision Blizzard has done very well in terms of realizing, and the teams have worked really hard, and it's a fantastic partnership, is convincing them that the pie will get bigger. Like pie will get bigger if we more closely align. And every time an Overwatch player becomes an esports fan, that makes money for Activision and the game and the developer and for us. It's not a net negative. It doesn't transfer. It grows the pie. But look, that's never been done before. So like that's just theory, right? And like I said, Riot and or Activision Blizzard, and hopefully both at the same time, will prove that, right? Because we're involved in both sides.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you bring up a good point in revenue and stuff. I think that, no joke, I think Overwatch is one of the more poorly monetized games right now, especially I feel like they could do so much to, just on their level, not even on your level too. I feel like they could do so much more in order to incentivize us to buy stuff in game after purchase. I think Spencer always has a good anecdote that, Valorant's free, but he's already spent $100 in skins.
Yeah, and I've spent more. Not in Overwatch. I spent the $60 to buy the game, and that's it. Which is like I'm a huge skin guy, right? Like Fortnite and Valorant have taken, or Riot, way too much of my money. But Blizzard is just the game, and I'm like, man, come on, Battle Pass, stores, skin. I know Overwatch 2 is coming out. I'm sure like they're gonna do stuff like that, but I do think that that's one thing that not a ton of people have talked about, because I agree. Like I think that this game could be monetized better for sure.
And that's all upside, right? So,
Exactly.
I mean, from where we are right now. And I think, look, Overwatch is 5 or maybe 6 years old right now. Like the business models.
5?
Yeah. The business models around games and esports have changed since it was launched. And like, I don't know the inside of how, the programming works and what they can. Usually if things aren't getting done that seem obvious, it's because the engine doesn't support it in some way, or it's too complicated to basically change the engine. So, a refresh like this is a great time to basically incorporate the most up-to-date thinking in monetize. Like if you had monetized it, let's say 4 years ago, I mean, maybe there would have been so many loot boxes and gambling techniques and all of the other stuff that, have since gone out of favor. And, and then it would be hard to change those. So, I think the approach to monetizing free to play or low cost entry games, let's say, which is I think what Overwatch is now. I don't think anybody pays $60 for the game now.
Yeah, usually on sale.
Right. And so, the approach to monetization, look, team fight tactics is another one, right? I mean, I probably spent $100 in that. I haven't spent, any money on Overwatch either, right? And like, I don't even play professionally. Like I play, it's like a 30 minutes, in between whatever. And I try to get to the highest rank in each session. And every 3 months or whatever, they change it around and they want me to pay $30 again to be able to get all of the loot. And I figure, well, I've spent enough time and enjoy the game enough. It's almost like a donation. I'll give them my $30 because, but that, and again, there was an article that I posted, I think on my Twitter today, where somebody was arguing on some, or making the story that, it's the end of the $60 game, right?
Yeah.
Because we're going to $70 games. And I was looking at that and saying, dude, it's been the end of the $60 game for years now. I mean, the biggest, most best monetized games in the world are all free in this way because we're all spending hundreds of dollars a year on them voluntarily.
Yeah.
Right?
It's funny because I actually read the title of the article. I think you posted on LinkedIn as well. I saw that today.
Yeah.
But off the title, I assumed by the end of the $60 game, they were going to refer that it's now going to be free. I didn't even realize the article was talking about how it's now a $70 game. And I was like, that's not what I thought it was at all. I thought it was free and that you'd make money off. I mean, obviously, again, we all know that the skins, it's skins, right? Cosmetics. Nobody wants to pay to win. That's not what anybody wants. But I agree, man. If you give me a really cool Zarya main, a really cool Zarya skin with a customizable weapon and customizable whatever shoes, I'll throw some money there if I'm playing the game and I'm enjoying it. Obviously, I think Valorant goes a little bit overboard. It's like I got to take a second mortgage on the house to afford some of those skins. But, there's a sweet spot there. And I think that, if I enjoy the game and I play it, I don't mind throwing $10, $20 on a cosmetic as long as that's what it is. It's a cosmetic.
Yeah, look, I won't say that I'm, even a friend of Jeff Kaplan. I think I've met him a few times, right? And him and his team and the people there are just so smart, right? Again, we in I don't know, maybe in the social media world or what, everybody assumes that everybody else is an idiot, okay?
Yeah.
And I can tell you that most people are really, really smart that have made it to kind of, the tops of their jobs. I mean, which is to say that they don't make mistakes or have, oversights, but for the most part, when they do make a mistake, they're the first ones to realize, right? Mm-hmm. And usually if it takes a while to fix, it's because there's other things that, are in the way and it's going to take some time. And I would say, season 3 of the Overwatch League is a little bit like that, in terms of we were slow to start off on YouTube. There was some things that happened with respect to, getting, the points for watching, we started slow, I think.
Yeah,
I think we could have transitioned more viewership from Twitch to YouTube if I think we had more time to put together a strategy. On the other hand, viewership exploded in Asia and China. It caught us by surprise. The viewership there just basically skyrocketed in part because we had so many teams there in their time zone, right?
Yeah.
And I think, and I think there's, like I said, there's so much negativity on social media and not just from fans, right? From people in the press and in the media. Again, I won't disparage those guys either because they've got an important job to do.
For sure.
But look, there's smart people figuring this out. Not everybody is an idiot, okay? Yeah. And I will say that by the end of our current media deal with YouTube, that the viewership will be, significantly higher than it was in the previous one. Okay. But we would have, there is a transition if you're moving away from Twitch to some other platform.
For sure.
Because Twitch is a dominant one. And we've seen that happen with influencers who've gone exclusive, right? And I would say when you look at the attrition from moving away from Twitch, we have retained a higher proportion of our viewership, even though we've dropped our main platform, than many other influencers, who have done the same thing. Mm-hmm. And so, again, I think if we can recover all of that by the end of the process, then what the Overwatch League will be able to prove, and again, this is so early, so you need evidence, is that you own your audience, right?
Yeah.
Are people watching the Overwatch League or are they watching Twitch?
Exactly.
Right? And if you can move your audience from Twitch to YouTube over the course of your contract, right? Then at the end of that contract, you can say, look, we own the audience. Amazon doesn't own it, right? And then that increases the value of your media deal to the next party, right? Because they know that your fans will go with you. And that, to me, if you want to kind of finish off the business section on that, the most important thing that we have to prove as an esports industry on the media side is that we own our audience, right?
Yeah.
And not the platform that you're broadcasting it on.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, who's to say the next media deal has to be exclusive, right? Like, I believe League of Legends, they stream on Twitch and also YouTube and also Facebook, right? Like, I mean, that in itself could also open the doors to a ton of new discoverability. And I mean, I know there's like sponsorships, and you guys have bills to pay and stuff like that, but that's also like an interesting thing, right? Who knows where you're going to be in 3 years? Like, I just think that multi-level streaming is another thing that like not enough people take advantage of.
Sure.
That's a really cool insight from you. And I was like, you know what? I know I'm going to learn something great from Adam today. I don't know. Is it going to be a spicy roster thing? No, it was this. It's so funny because once you own your audience, you will like have them in your back pocket. That's when you can leverage them for other things too, right? If Twitch owns the audience, you can't use them to influence them on like a new game that Blizzard Activision's putting out or some knick-knack here and there. But when you own the audience, when they're in your back pocket, then you can really use them for new things are coming up. It's the same reason why you can Facebook use their audience to imprint on Instagram when they bought that. Like they're just like, oh hey, look it, now we have this new thing, add it, and it's just so easy to integrate together. But yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Reinhardt hockey stick, baby.
Well, with this, the three main leagues that we're in, the three main franchise leagues, let's say, the viewership is, again, I'm going to exclude Overwatch. I would say the outside of China viewership was down year over year, and I think there's reasons that can be fixed there, and that will be fixed, right? But Call of Duty's viewership was up. League of Legends viewership was up. We started a CS:GO league as well, and that one had some pretty good viewership. But the viewership in esports is increasing, and it is increasing the most in the kind of 18 to 32 demographic, right? Sure. And if you take a look at professional sports, they've all been declining for 5 years in a row in that demographic, right? If it's NFL, it's NBA, it's NHL. League of Legends, and I saw this, I can't remember where I saw it, but League of Legends, in terms of 18 to 32 demographic, is the third most watched professional sports league in North America after NFL and NBA. I mean, that's just crazy in that 18 to 30. Whoa. Like, and if you think about it, like how many 18 or 19-year-olds watch football anymore, right? And certainly golf and those other things are now falling behind. But, when the NFL basically says, we're going to do $1 billion contract with Fox, right, to show the Super Bowl or to show, the broadcast, or they'll do one or two deals of that sort, because they can deliver the exclusivity, right? The broadcasters are willing to pay a lot of money for it, right? Yeah. And so exclusivity, just speaking to you, is very important because A, it's an asset that can be sold, and obviously that's very valuable, but B, in order to have that, you need to be able to deliver the audience, which goes to your point, Chris, right? We have to show that we own the audience so that we can get better exclusivity deals, right? And if you get better exclusivity deals, that means that more money is going into the ecosystem, which means better broadcast, better salaries for players, more money for teams, and more growth in the industry. And that, again, maybe that's kind of the boring stuff that maybe your viewers didn't kind of turn in to look at. But, this is, at the end of the day, this is a very, very tough business to be in.
For sure.
And it's incredibly fun. But, there's all sorts of this really cool stuff that happens. I mean, isn't it kind of cool that you can kind of go to work and talk about, media deals with Twitch and esports and viewership and all? I mean, I sometimes just kind of sit there and think, like, I can't believe I get paid to do this every day. So,
Adam, at this point, I don't care what our viewers think. I'm enjoying it. So that's okay.
Okay. Just heads up. I've got like
well-
about maybe 5 minutes left, right? I think we're going a little bit over here, but I've got about 5 minutes. I know you guys had a bunch of things. If you guys want to give me like some kind of quick fire questions, I can kind of give you quick answers.
Chris.
Oh, Spencer, did you have? I just had one more question.
Yeah.
Sure.
I just wanted just kind of on the revenue side for you guys. Obviously, those media deals are a little bit more out of your guys' control, and I know that homestand kind of leaves a gap in like what you desire in terms of revenue for the Toronto Defiant specifically. Are there any plans for you guys to kind of make that up in the coming year to make sure that you guys are really able to, especially since you guys say you're on the upper end of spend for players too? Are there any ideas to kind of monetize that in certain situations?
We're not planning on any live events for 2021. So that's pretty clear. I mean, there may be some transition depending on what happens next year to some live events at the end of next year. I don't know. Like, I think it's so hard to plan, right? But I'm pretty confident in saying there probably won't be any in Toronto. Although if there's ever an opportunity, we'll be there to try to do it. Okay. Yeah. But not because we're thinking about the revenue or the revenue loss, right? I mean, we would not be running our events if we had them in 2020 to make a profit. In fact, all of our events that were live, we'd all be costing us money, right? And we are happy to invest that because we want to build the fan engagement and the fan affinity. And it is so cool to see everybody there cheering, right? Yeah. And we've had some really big kind of launch parties and stuff where we've just basically never charged anybody to come in, right? And other teams try to charge $5 to kind of validate it. And for us, like having the fan engagement is so much more important than the revenue,
I
right? Agree. And so, yes, it does hurt not to have that, but not because of any kind of revenue kind of thing. It's like we miss our fans, right? We miss having a live audience, right? We went to so many events earlier on this year where all the other fans got to cheer, before we shut things down for their players. And I mean, it's just like we were the first team in all of Overwatch to sell out our first homestand in Overwatch, right? Yeah. We had the fastest selling sellout, okay, and we had probably more demand. Like, this is such an amazing market for esports, right? Mm-hmm. And I think a big part of it is I think we've done a great job in working with the fans and building that up. But look, whenever this comes back, okay, there's just going to be, just such a huge party, where we could basically see our fans live again. And look, if it ends up costing us a little bit of money to basically just have a really, really good time and to show like a top-notch product for people, then that's something that we're going to be willing to invest in.
Awesome. And I guess my last question, super quick, a little bit quicker, is CDL, you tweeted us jokingly about the academy team. You have 5 persons on the roster. I've been a big advocate for a 6. Is that something you guys are looking into, or is the roster pretty much set in stone? And it's going to be those 5, and that's done. And then same thing kind of with Overwatch is the Montreal Rebellion. I see you're wearing a shirt right there. Is that anything that you guys have had talks with about? No, nothing's confirmed. Just sort of about the academy and how important that is, because I know you guys were a big proponent of that before.
Yeah, I think I would say the same thing for Ultra as I would say for Defiant. That Marky B, when we promoted him to head coach, that comes with a greater level of responsibility, and that would be something that Marky B would come back to me and say, look, I think we could use an academy team, and we could make a plan around it, right? Yeah. And so he's aware of that as well, and that he can bring that up. I don't think that we have any plans necessarily, but I don't think it's been ruled out either. For sure. Right? It's really a function of the rules for next year for both leagues are quite a bit different in the sense that there's a lot more flexibility in terms of two-way contracts and having people be on academy teams. I think both leagues are really trying to make a concerted effort to create a better path to pro. And so from our perspective, it may it may just make more sense at the end of the day not to have an academy team, but to add additional names to the roster and let them play for an academy team somewhere else, right?
I totally agree.
And so again, I don't think we've ruled anything out. But look, and maybe all of your Toronto Defiant fans are listening to this on that, for that stuff have all kind of tuned out right now. But I will say that Mark and Ryan, who's our assistant coach there, are I wouldn't trade those guys for anybody else in the league, right? I think that we've got the best coaching staff in Call of Duty, and we also and I would add Dominique there as well, right? I mean, she's just an incredibly smart team manager, and we're so lucky to have her. But we give those people, I would say, much more responsibility than many other organizations do. And many of these people are young, like in their 20s, right? I mean, it's a very young industry. And, from my perspective, we want to develop them into leaders in the industry as well. And that begins with basically saying, hey, Mark, this is your decision, right? And sometimes you got to wear that for a while, right? And say, wait a second, I get to decide this now?
Yeah.
Okay, well, if I'm going to decide it, then I need more time to think about it. And that is exactly what I want to hear, okay? Yeah. Because it means that you're doing the analysis required rather than having me do the analysis.
For sure. No. Totally agree. And I was like, I just agree. Like, I'm a big proponent of like a Pred or a Standy, right? And I was like, Call of Duty could sign him on a 2-way and have him play in challengers. That way you get like the best of both worlds. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, then you still have that, they're still in challenges, they're still developing. And I think that that's a really, the fact that Call of Duty changed those rules is smart. And I don't know for sure about the 2-way players in Overwatch. I don't know the differences between the two, but I agree that is something that I think could be improved, where teams can have those players on the bench, but also playing contenders and improve. I think Beast would have, improved dramatically, and that would have helped him out a lot if he could have, instead of being on the bench maybe the latter half of the year, went down to contenders and really honed his skills, because I think he's talented.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see that.
Yeah, no, it was those, again, I think those rules, and I'm not there are discussions that happen among the league and some of the ownership groups and so forth,
for sure,
where some ideas are floated around that haven't been done yet. And I would say, there is everybody benefits from making a more competitive contenders or challengers system.
Agreed.
I think, again, that's another area where we probably fell short in 2020 in Overwatch League. But there's things to do to fix it. And I also think, when everybody is talking about these big contracts and these signings, everybody's kind of running around because of the original, the quick rush in Overwatch, and probably even more so in Call of Duty, because the roster size is smaller over there now. There's fewer teams, so there's fewer slots in the professional leagues over there. But I'm not going to basically say I will bet you, because I could be wrong. Yeah. But I would say that I feel reasonably confident, okay, that a top challengers team could probably beat a bottom CDL team, right, by the end of next year, right? It's possible, because there's so much that goes into it beyond just the skill of the player, as we've seen this year, right? Yeah. And so I think people are going to start with a roster, and they may very well start with smaller rosters, both leagues, right? But I think there's going to be more changes over the course of the year, right? Because some of the rules have made it easier for teams to make changes, to trial people, to bring people in for short periods of time and so forth, right? And then also to place them on an academy team and keep them, right? Yeah. And so both of these leagues are going to there's so many new things happening that we're not sure how things are going to shake out yet.
Yeah. And I agree. Of the risk when you wait, sometimes someone really pops off and you have a bunch of people going for them, as opposed to, you get them early enough, you can kind of be the only one there. But I do agree that you're right. Yeah. I think more changes will happen. So I'm good. I think Chris is good. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate that. yeah, I want to say thank you guys for listening. As always, like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and I hope you enjoyed.
Follow Adam on Twitter. Adam and Adam.
Oh yeah, we'll put all
right,
the descriptions in the thing below if you guys are interested. Toronto Defiant and Ultra and all that fun stuff. Thank you.
Hey, and follow follow the coaching staff and some of our staff on the teams. Those are the guys that really know the stuff. So I think if you follow them, you're probably going to get more informed tweets than following just me.
Yep, awesome. We'll put all of that in
right.
the description below. Thank you guys.
All right. Okay,
Enjoy.
bye.